There were so many that lost their businesses during that time. Good morning and welcome from Spotlight Publishing. This is our May 17th broadcast, and so excited to be able to introduce our author whose book is showcasing right now, just recently released. Spotlight Publishing is all about helping authors to expand their reach and to showcase the tools, the resources, the wisdom, the amazingness of each author that we have the privilege of serving. So now I want to introduce Christine Howard and bring her to the screen. Good morning, Christine.
Good morning, Becky. So grateful to be here with you today.
Oh, it's so exciting. This is something we've worked hard for. You have worked incredibly hard for. Been many months in the making and a lot of back and forth trying to figure out the best way, to bring this book and get it into the hands of those who really need to read your message, your book. Let's hold up our books. Yeah.
Yay!
Oh, so proud of this. And it's
feels so
not
good.
only is the cover just totally gorgeous, Radiant Achievement, Turn on Your Life, Your Essence, and Your Soul-Centered Calling. How beautiful. And I've read a lot of little snippets out of it, and even over the weekend took some time. What was interesting is on Friday, we started the pre-launch period for the Kindle version, and you made bestseller. Even in Canada, you made bestseller. So really exciting. I think your ranking on the Kindle was 4 and 5, and it was because there were some glitches, and so our support teams couldn't help. Didn't even know about it, and I thought they did. So it's just
okay.
Yeah. So they'll continue to support now, and it's just part and parcel of what goes on when you're publishing a book. But let me properly introduce Christine. She's a recognized and respected business leader dedicated to creating transformative products and coaching services, books, and talks instrumental for awakening the radiance and power of women's true essence and their ability to achieve their soul-centered calling. I love that. You capture the essence of what that is. Her passion and commitment to inspire the lives of women came from her own transformational heartbreak. Rising from a startling diagnosis of breast cancer followed by a painful divorce, today she is known as an expert on radiant achievement and teaches and speaks to audiences everywhere. She's found that a woman's level of self-love, appreciation, and connection to their intuition and unique gifts directly impacts their ability to manifest a purposeful and empowered life. As a visionary entrepreneur and certified life success coach, Christine has dedicated nearly 2 decades guiding her clients to identify and dissolve patterns and habits that block their ability to create a life of grace and ease while achieving the greatest personal and professional dreams. With that, we welcome you, Christine Howard.
Thank you, Becky. Again, I'm so grateful to be here. Like you said, it's been a while coming. So we talked about this moment, and it's here.
It's here. I always call these events, it's like a wedding or a graduation. You work so hard, and that day comes, and it's like, it's here. We're here.
Right.
What happened? It just goes so fast once it finally. But It's such a milestone. It's such a milestone to be able to do the kind of work that you do, but also to bring this wisdom to the world in a way that many more can be reached. So tell us about your journey Christine. How did this book get started? Tell us some of the
Sure.
journey that you were on that has brought you to where you are today.
Absolutely. So I knew that I would, as a coach, this goes back years ago, maybe kind of in my earlier days. I knew at some point I would write a book. I just felt like that was in me. So I had been living with this knowing, but never really paying attention to it. And then, oh gosh, maybe 4 years ago, well, actually 3 years and 9 months ago, let me be really specific because
Let's be very specific.
I did the math over the weekend. I just posting today is a blog, my newest blog, which is really capturing some of my key reflections from my journey of bringing this book to life. And 3 years, 9 months ago, I was actually planning to write to put together my signature program. And I'd had a workshop that I was doing. And when I really kind of felt into the program, it was like, no, I feel like it's maybe time to write that book. So I took a workshop that I had already been doing, which is called Radiance Awakened, which was really the teaching women the 7 powers that I dive into in the book. I started this journey of writing the book, and it was totally, gosh, there were so many things of that journey, right? So that I had to face, and I'll talk a little bit just about the book, it's writing itself. It was one thing to write the draft, and then I had this mixed feeling of joy because I have a draft. I can say this is a legitimate draft, but then I had this big fear because, as I started to realize, writing the draft is just the tip of the iceberg. It's about getting the book finished, filled out. So over those 3 years and 9 months from when I wrote the draft, Becky, I put down that rough draft, picked it up, put it down like 3 different times because for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it was I was really focusing on a different aspect of my business. So here's that challenge, right? Like I'm that multi-faceted, multi-inspired person. So the book was just one of the things I was working on. So when I put the book down, went and I actually launched an app, and then I'm like, okay, it's time to come back to the book. So I came back to the book, and I cried actually the first time I read that initial draft because I had grown and changed over what I probably put it down for at least 9 months, and I'd grown and changed, and it felt like it wasn't enough, right? There wasn't enough stuff there. So I had to really start to dig in again and say, what else wants to come through in this book? And then I deepened in with more stories, different exercises, because I really wanted the book to be inspirational and transformational. So part of it is sharing my story, which was interesting even in just writing out my stories of my personal, struggles, my insights, my transformation, and how then I can translate that into some tangible action for women to take to help translate, transform their own life. So this ongoing journey of picking up, putting down, and each time I was able to add something more to it because I had grown more.
Well, you're going to also find, Christine, that 3 years from now, you'll be saying, I'm not even that person anymore, and it's time for another book. Because through those 3 years, through those 3 years, you yourself have grown tremendously. 100%. And it's a constant evolution of change based on that we don't stay still. We continue to learn better ways, and we work on ourselves in so much more depth. And so this is an incredible process. And you had the catalyst for change was some pretty dark times for you.
Definitely. Which I can share that backstory if this is a good time for that. Which really, so the book was an outcome from the workshop, but the workshop was really what started what I did to pull together all the learning and transformation that I had gone through. So I've been a coach since 2001, 2002, somewhere in there. I'd have to look back at the exact date of my certificate, but I was always somebody who loved helping people to achieve whatever they desired. And kind of back in my early days, I really didn't care where it was. It could have been health, relationships, career. But as I went through my my wake up calls, which I talk about in the book, and you mentioned in my bio, first was that breast cancer diagnosis, and I really had to look at how I was showing up for myself, and I saw that I wasn't taking time for self care. I was literally on this treadmill of life, doing my best to be an entrepreneur, which I had so much learning and growing to do just from that. I was navigating 2 teenage children that had their own struggles. That at the time I was married, I was navigating a strained relationship, a house remodel, an aging dog, like all of these things. And so the cancer diagnosis for me was a true wake up call to tell me you need to start taking better care of yourself.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so I did. That was like that first step.
The fact is that you listened, and part of the thing that is for many of us, especially women, is that we get caught up in the doing and we don't stop and take the time. We don't listen to what our bodies say to do. And then, we get those wake up calls that say, hey, straighten up.
I was not listening. No, I was not listening. And we hear these, this analogy of like the universe is going to give you a little tap, and then it's going to get a little louder, and then you might get banged upside the head, which I feel for me, that was my cancer diagnosis, was that, okay, you're not paying attention. And I sensed things at times, yet I just kept going because my mindset back then was, how do I stop? And I remember vividly one time I felt it really strong in my body, and I had said something to my husband then, like, let's do something different. Like, this is too much. And he stopped me squarely, looked me squarely in the eyes and said, this is our life. And I just felt so hopeless, like
probably a little bit trapped too.
Totally trapped. So again, the cancer diagnosis really helped me to start that shift. But then when the divorce happened, it was, the whole bottom of my life fell out, and everything. I'm always a dreamer. I always have these visions for my future, and we were getting close to being empty nesters. So I was like, we've got this, second honeymoon phase coming. We can travel, we can do all these things. And when that, everything just fell out, I had to let go of every suitcase, every bag, every dream, everything I was carrying with me as a future plan. I had to let it all go. I just intuitively, I think the cancer diagnosis helped set me up for this bigger shift that I needed to make. And when I let it all go, I went into that a really deep inner inquiry on how I was not just living my life, but how I was showing up for me in a deeper way. And it went way beyond my self-care. It went to, was I truly loving myself? Was I truly honoring my life purpose? Was I honoring what my soul was here calling me to do? In that healing time, I got to look at all of those questions. And as a result, there were a lot of new insights and then shifts that I ultimately made. And all of that laid the groundwork for what became Radiant Achievement.
That's
so,
beautiful.
yeah.
So, it's in the first part of your book, the part 1, it says it's the new paradigm for achievement. It says the time has come to stop living by our conditioning and to step into new ways of being that support the expression of our highest potential.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you're saying. You took the pause, you took the time to start really asking yourself the question, what am I here to do? What is it that I want to do? What will satisfy my soul? And when we can listen to that and actually step into that is when the change happens, and when we really discover some amazing things about ourselves.
For sure. For sure. And I talk about it in my book. I actually, it's almost like I rekindled the relationship with that younger part of me that is that free spirit, that creative person, that dreamer, that just love to bring things to life. And I hadn't allowed myself to be that person for so many years. And it truly reconnected me to that part of me.
You call it soul-centered achievement.
Yes.
So what does that mean, soul-centered achievement?
Yeah. So, different people use different words. And again, for me, based on the journey that I did, it wasn't just, I feel like it went so deep to the core of my purpose. I believe that we're spiritual beings in a physical body, right? And every person has a soul, and every person comes in with a soul purpose. And part of that achieving that or expressing or experiencing that purpose is you have to listen for those soul callings. So
Absolutely.
that soul center calling is connected to why I'm here, why you're here. And I believe we get those, whether it's a whisper through something we hear, something we know, something we feel. Our soul is speaking to us could be through our heart, right? Like there's this divine connection from up above that connects it all together. And so whether you resonate with soul centered or heart centered or purpose centered, it's
Either
really
way,
either way,
yes.
it's all the same. It's really from that inner authentic place that is the truest, purest person, intention of why you're here.
So don't you think that for most of us as women, especially when we get to a certain age in our life, the traditional ways of looking at achievement just kind of go by the wayside? It just doesn't make any sense for us. And, when we're young, we're raising children, we're trying to make a marriage work, we're doing all these other things. We don't pause long enough to really listen. And then
Right.
finally it comes to that place in your life when you say, this just doesn't feel right. It doesn't make sense,
Right.
and why am I doing this?
Exactly.
And that's the whole essence of what your book is about, is really taking that pause to listen and pay attention, and then not just take action in a whole different way than
Right.
what we've been doing previously.
Right. Well, I love how you set that up, because a big part of it is, and getting to that place where we spend more time listening, and then honoring what we're hearing. So even the listening of, this just doesn't feel right anymore for me, right? Not even knowing what it is, but knowing like, I feel like there's something different for me, or there's something more for me, or there's another way. And all of those were part of my inquiry when I went through my healing from my divorce. I felt like there was another way to do it. And a lot of it, you're right, comes with age, and we kind of get through the heavy part of that condition, living with the responsibilities of as a parent, as a career woman, or whatever the case may be. But I do feel like that's shifting a bit, where women are becoming aware earlier than
Yes,
I feel like how I was.
I agree. And I think that's because there's something different. I think even COVID had a big role in making us wake up earlier and younger.
Yeah.
I've watched
Lots of
it
pauses
with my
happen.
daughter, is watching their journey and their realization that this doesn't make a lot of sense,
Yeah.
But COVID was an interesting wake-up time, I think, for many of us. And think of the number of families that they have never spent that much time together.
Right.
and
Right.
yet and even husbands and wives hadn't spent that much time together, and yet it came a time for really deep, because you had to slow down, you had to have that pause. And there was that when it first started. I know our neighborhoods, It was so amazing to drive down the streets. There was hardly anybody out. Everybody was at home at that first initial part of it. And it had to be a time to wake up and I think that more and more and more younger women are realizing and listening to this call. And what I think is so fabulous is think what that will do for the children that they're raising,
Sure.
and think of what a different world this can be, because it's not about the overworking and overstressing and over multitasking and doing millions of different things at the same time. It's about being and living.
Yes, absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of the same thing that you just shared. And I, it's, and I talk about this in the book, we have these opportunities in front of us all the time. And sometimes the best gift comes in a painful package. So I know COVID was painful for a lot of people. There's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of change. How do I try and work from home? And I've got the kids running around and all this stuff. And I think when people, were forced to out of that normal routine, right? They were forced off that treadmill. It did allow them time to kind of look around and say, this is kind of nice. Nice. I don't have the 45-minute commute every day each way. Kind of nice that I get to see my husband more time in the day, or kind of nice that, and I think I know there were a lot of good things that also came out of this for people, where it really helped them to reevaluate their priorities, reevaluate how they were showing up, and to let some things go that maybe weren't for their highest expression of joy and fulfillment and happiness in life.
Yes, for sure. In your chapter 2 of your book, you talk about the new approach is radiant achievement. And you said radiant achievement is an innovation using inner power you already possess, which to me is exciting, because sometimes we don't give enough credit to our inner knowingness.
Right.
We have that tendency to doubt that inner knowing and compare, maybe perhaps do way too much comparing as to what others seem to be able to accomplish versus what we think we're not able to accomplish. So really, when you think about it, it's that listening, and it's also the action or the unaction that takes place as a result of that listening.
Absolutely. It's truly an inner journey. And it's, like you said, so much of the achievement process was like out there, do, plan, strategize, whatever, what's that strategy to get me there fastest and all of that. And all those things have a time and a place. We just kind of got way out of control with it. And so this really radiant achievement connects women and men back to their inner powers. And I speak about, truly owning your worth. And I saw, I saw how I wasn't owning my worth. And because I wasn't owning my worth, I was really stuck in that external view and stuck in, what does society think for me? What does my spouse think for me? What do my children think for me? And when you bring it back inward and really connect to your authentic self and to your heart's desires, your soul calling, and then go from that place of connecting to your intuition, taking inspired action, it truly changes the game on how you live your life and how you pursue your goals. And it's more joyful, more peaceful. There's more flow to it, and it's a 180. It's a 180 shift from how most people have been taught to live, lead, and achieve.
So in your book, you talk about activating the powers of radiant achievement. What do you mean by that? How does that done?
So how it's done first is by understanding that you have these inner powers, and I list them out in the book. And to activate them, it starts with the awareness. And having the awareness, then you can get into inquiry. And I have a lot of exercises in the book for each of the inner powers. Activating them starts with the awareness. Embodying them is when you choose in the moment to put them into action. So that's kind of the beginning process of how you do that. Yeah.
So, it comes to self-worth. It comes to self-love. It comes to owning who we really are. There's a lot of pieces to this, and really,
Yes.
really, and I think that sadly, most human beings don't realize their worth, whether they're a man or a woman. We
No,
don't
I agree.
give ourselves the credit for what
I agree.
what our goodness and what we have to offer to the world.
Totally agree. And again, I know for myself, a lot of the pain that I put myself through in my life, the struggles, whether it was in my relationship, in my health, and in any area, I can look back and see that element that was where I felt I wasn't enough, or I felt I was being too much if I wanted a certain thing. It ran the gamut of, I wasn't lovable, or I wasn't important, all of these things. And so it definitely is a cornerstone that when we get that foundation set, right? It's like a house. You're building a house on shaky soil. So I saw so clearly in my life when I reclaimed my worth and I took a stand, and I talk about it in the book, like I drew a line in the sand. I put a stake down and said, never again am I going to deny, what's calling to me, because this was part of my highest purpose, my what I'm here for. And that really helped me to, again, solidify the worth of myself, just for being me without anything
Right.
else.
You mentioned that gratitude is kind of a cornerstone of really living a radiant life. What do you mean by that?
Sure. Well, I believe that where we put our focus is what we're going to really create in our life. So one of my intentions for my life is joy, happiness, peace, ease, flow. And when I see, when I am grateful in my life, when I acknowledge things that I'm grateful for, I have more of all those things I desire: joy, peace, abundance, flow. And gratitude's an energy. So we can talk a little bit about energy here too, right? Gratitude, and I'm grateful for my morning cup of coffee. I'm grateful for my view from the kitchen window. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for just another day. And again, this was part of my journey where I was previously in a place of just focusing on what wasn't working, focusing on the negative stuff. And so shifting to see all the beauty, all the abundance, all the love, whatever that is, every day. It's like rolling that snowball downhill. It gains more and more momentum, and gratitude just brings more of everything beautiful to our life. And there's always something to be grateful for, even the smallest thing.
Even walking our doggies and
exactly.
Cuddling with them. Mine usually, there's 3 doggy beds right around my feet. That's where they stay.
Oh.
And the gratefulness for that they bring so much joy to my life, because they're funny little personalities and the things they do, and just so those are little things to be grateful for.
Totally.
Somebody smiled at you when you were out shopping. That's something to be grateful for.
Absolutely.
All of these little things, if we pause to reflect and see the beauty in that, and realize how fortunate, oh my goodness, that these little things that are brought to us.
Right.
We're going to take a short break. I was wondering if after the break, it just be just about a minute.
Okay.
If after the break, this will give you a chance to get a glass of water.
Perfect. Thank you, because I forgot that.
If you could give us an example of some of the exercises, that at least 1 or 2 of the exercises, how your exercises work. And for those that are listening, you must pick up a copy of this Radiant Achievement. It's available on Amazon. The link is kind of going across the bottom of the screen, obviously, and it's also in the If you're on Facebook or YouTube listening or on E360 TV, be sure and follow that link and get a copy of this book. This book is exquisitely wonderful. So let's take just a very brief break and get that glass of water, and we'll be right back.
Perfect.
Very cool. That was good timing. Oh, that's perfect. So you talk in here in it's one of your exercises about activating and strengthening your power of inner listening and how it requires a practice of mindful awareness. Let's dive into that and talk about some of the exercises there that you share.
Absolutely. So one, you said this is what inner listening, is that what you said? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm full disclosure here. I was up really late last night, which is, I'm a like 10 p.m. go to bed kind of gal, and I was up till 1 o'clock. So yeah, my brain's still waking up here. This truly was so powerfully transformative to me. The exercises in inner listening, and specifically one of them. And it's so simple, but it brought so much peace, and there's so much information and wisdom. It's truly a good starting point is to set a timer for 10 minutes and to sit down in a quiet, uninterrupted space, take some deep breaths, like 3 deep breaths, just to kind of slow yourself down, just bring yourself to the present moment and sit and listen. And listen for what comes up. Now, there's going to be, in the beginning, there's going to be a lot of chatter that comes up. Yeah, and that's okay. That's part of that journey to the stillness, is to to notice the chatter. And if in the early days, I would write things down, because I found I was in such a do mode still, that these were tasks that were coming to me. Unfinished business or things to do later in the day or in the week. And I had a journal next to me, and I highly recommend having paper or journal, whatever, your phone, and jotting things down and just letting them release. And then it just continue to sit in this place of quietness and breathing, and just like feel into nothingness, just sit there and just be with whatever. And then listen for what pops up. And in one of the exercises, I go on to say, you can ask a question like, what, and it could be related to a project or just to your life. Like, what does my higher self, or what does my soul want me to do or desire for me to do at this point? Mm-hmm. Ask a really open-ended question like that, and sit and listen. And you can do it, like if you've been struggling, like, and using I wonder is a powerful way to frame it up. And I talk about that, right? Like, I wonder, what this situation is trying to tell me, where you might be having a struggle. And I use those moments to get into inquiry on, okay, I believe I'm being taught a lesson here, or there's some information for me to learn for my growth. I wonder what lesson, or, I wonder what is trying to be taught to me here through this situation, or I wonder what I can learn from this situation, or just then sit and listen. This isn't a thinking exercise. You just sit and listen. And I started to learn for myself I hear words, like I get, like somebody's talking to me, I get messages, and then I see words. So those were kind of the two ways I get messages. Some people just have a knowing, like just all of a sudden something kind of hits their body and they know it. And then whatever comes up, write it down. And I did this every day for months and months and months. And it did a couple things. It helped me reconnect with my body, because our brain has some wisdom, but it's like there's so much more body wisdom. Again, our intuition, that higher self, speaks through those intuitive messages. And then it helped me to connect with my intuition. And that's powerful.
I find that because I've been following these practices for a while now too, and for so long, I would just say, "Oh yeah, that's just because you want it so bad, and it's you're talking to yourself."
Yeah.
And finally, I realized those were answers that were coming from me, and it's so, for me, it's so fascinating, because it feels like I'm having a conversation.
Yes,
And
you are.
And it feels like sometimes it's a two-way conversation, or it feels like the answer is just being given to me, like somebody's talking to me. And it's been amazing to stop and really not doubt it, but listen. And, I had something happen this past week. One of my oldest daughter has been estranged from my family and won't let me see the grandkids. And my oldest grandson, him and I have been together every week for months and months. And it's been 6 months of not seeing him. And it's just, I miss him. And it was like clear, because every single day I talk to him just with my mind.
Awesome.
And sending him to my heart. And it was as clear as bell, as if he would, as a bell. It was right as if he was sitting right there with me. And Mimi, he always called me Mimi. I miss you and I love you. And I was like, wow.
I love that.
And he says, when I can, I will be back. And it was what I needed, because it was just, because I've missed Christmas and birthdays and all the special times that we do. And we were together at least one full day a week.
Wow.
And it just, so it, that even in these kind of times, that it really tests every bit of who you thought you were, and what you want, and what you the parameters around that. It has really made me go very deep as far as who am I? What is this? Why is this happening? And also, one of my spiritual coaches had said, just keep sending the message. Forgive me. I don't know. If I've been judgmental, I don't know what you're facing, what's going on in your life. And I love you.
Yeah, the Ho'oponopono one. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so, it's been quite a journey, and I just have to keep, one day at a time, and just realize that this is my time to fine tune and hone in on who I really am, and all the beautiful things that I want for me.
Beautiful. Well, that's part of the awareness first you starting to trust those messages, right? And not doubt it, because we're so conditioned to having to think our way through things, that having wisdom and messages come to us, that's easy and in a fluid way. Our brain just wants to reject, because that's not the conditioned pattern. So it does take time. It takes time to really see that this new way is possible. So I love that you made that shift. And then there was another piece to that, and my brain just left me. So I'll come back if it's relevant.
So that, and that's that inner listening that you speak up so much about the book, is that inner listening, and coming to the place where you don't doubt those voices.
And that's what I was going to say. I found for myself, there was so much, I began to feel so much peace, because as an overthinker, I was constantly doubting my plan. I was constantly doubting my idea. Is this, is this the right way? Is that the right way? It's like you just see all these different paths on the freeway and you're not sure which one is the right one because you're focused out here. But through the inner listening, what I found a huge shift is that when these messages would come to me, the intuitive hits would come to me, and I acted on them, I felt so much peace. There wasn't that doubt. Once I, again, started to build that muscle to just act on it and trust it, I was amazed by the transformation I felt to that peace, to that level of peace that I can honestly say I had not felt or experienced for so many years. So that was a huge gift I had not even considered, but like peace means a lot to me right now. And how many people are feeling just that inner turmoil, that inner unrest? So if you can, through sitting and spending time inner listening and then trusting what's coming up and acting on it, you can, we can shift that in ourselves in a way we can't even imagine right now. But I highly, highly recommend it for everybody.
That's beautiful. So what's the next step? From the inner listening, what's next?
Yes. Inspired action. So inspired action does tie in really closely with inner listening, but not 100%, in that one of the cool things that I have seen in my life, and I teach this in the book, is we can receive inspired actions, which are our next steps in our life or our projects, whatever. The universe is talking to us 24/7. And I've heard stories of people getting, reading a billboard, like they were working on a project. They had an open question. They're driving down the freeway. They see a billboard and it says, "Call Bill." And they're like, oh, that was for them. And they called Bill and and there was the answer. So it's those synchronistic things that happen where you get, whether it's you read something, you overhear something, which happens frequently to me. I'll listen to a podcast or I'll overhear part of a conversation. Even in the grocery store, I'm like, all of a sudden I get this little ding and I'm like, oh, that's something I need to go do on my project or my task. So inspired action is this isn't really a next step. So the powers are not sequential. I put them in a circle. Yeah. So they all work together synchronistically and synergistically. So, but we're talking about it in linear fashion now, but I wanted to just reinforce that. So inspired action. And I'm not saying we don't do planned actions, because I still write things down. Certainly launching this book, I've had a lot of actions written down and all of that. But I always stay open to answers, next steps, information, insights coming to me, landing on me from all these different places. So again, for the listener here to really be in this place of have this perspective that you're not alone, that the universe is conspiring with us to help us on our journey to fulfill our purpose, to bring our goals and our dreams and our callings to life, and that it can be a lot easier when we open ourselves up to receive these intuitive messages, which are what I frame as the inspired actions.
That's beautiful. And, one of the things you say here is activating and strengthening your connection with the power of inspired action requires some inner shifts.
Yes.
And what are those shifts?
Well, one of the big ones is that the mindset that it's hard, like that it's working toward my goal is hard, that I have to work hard, that it's the grind, right? Again, that conditioned belief that so many of us have been given, that it's going to be a struggle to achieve our big dream. And so then we shut ourselves down. If that's what we believe, then we shut ourselves down from it being easy. So that's definitely one of those inner shifts. It's that kind of an unlearning we need to do of those conditioned beliefs.
That's beautiful. What about
Yeah.
the power of commitment?
Yes. I want to say this is one of my favorite ones. They're all like so powerful. I actually just had a conversation with a friend who was reading the book over the weekend. We met for brunch yesterday, and her first conversation with me after we said hello was, "Oh my gosh, like you rocked my world this morning." I go, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "I just read The Power of Commitment, and I realized how I am not fully committed to my journey, to my higher purpose." And it really shook her, because how I talk about commitment, and again, this was hugely transformative for me. Most of us think of commitment, are you committed to achieving your goal, right? It's like that. We have all these goals in our life. We're committed to the house, to the career, and that's nice. And that's one level of it. But the commitment, the other level that I talk about, is commitment to, like, you fulfilling your highest purpose, to commitment to you expressing the truest essence of who you are. It's commitment to the capital YOU,
Mm.
that inner you, that soul you, the spirit you, to really bringing the fullness of who he or she is out into the world. And when you start thinking about it from that bigger perspective, like we tend to get so close to that TV screen or the movie screen of the project and the task and all that. But when you step back and you look at that bigger view, it's such it's a broader commitment, and it's a deeper commitment to really your fullest expression in this lifetime.
One of the things you say in here is that committing to my smaller goals move me down the path to say yes to the bigger callings that came
Mm,
later.
yeah, yeah. So I was really good at having ideas. And this was when I was the kids were at home and I was married. I was really good at ideas, but then I would always, whether it was my husband then or my kids, it wasn't convenient for everybody else, right? So I might have wanted us to do a family outing together or a family event together. Something always seemed to come up more important in somebody else's book, and so I just would say, okay, it's no big deal. Okay, it's no big deal. So I had this conditioned pattern of not taking a stand for these ideas that were important to me. So part of that transition when I was rebuilding my life was I needed to start with the smallest little thing. Say yes when I had the inspired hit to go to the beach and take a beach walk, instead of saying, "Oh no, it's okay. I don't need to
I'm too
go.
busy. Oh,
I'm too busy," right?
nobody
I
else is
truly
there.
had to start with the smallest little things. Taking a nap when I was feeling tired, really. So, I mean, that's like, those are some, like, even just self-care things I started to say yes to. But then as I was listening to what my intuition was telling me, these inspired ideas coming, it again, all of this is the kind of building a muscle of confidence, building a muscle of your worth. There's no limit to how much we can experience, but when we start small, and then the first time I was on a podcast, right? Like, that was like I was shaking in my boots, and I'm like,
Like,
I can't even
I want
imagine doing a podcast.
this.
But then after I did it, and I said yes, and I prepared, and I did it. Now, like, 2 years later, I actually have done segments that I came up with, and for my local PBS TV station. And so
Right.
it just built that it, not even just muscle of confidence, but opened my eyes and my creativity to be like this open vessel of, like, I'm open for whatever ideas you have for me, God, source, universe.
Right.
And having said yes to the little things opened my eyes that I could do the next level and the next level, and not from a place of like grasping for something, but from a place, that inner creativity, the inner inquiry, the inner curiosity. It's a very fun energy to step into.
That's beautiful. It's kind of goes with that kind of even scriptural advice. Those that are faithful in the little things also will be faithful in the
Mm,
big, so it kind of goes full circle that way. Where does the power of reflection come into the whole scheme of this?
The power of reflection comes in everywhere, everywhere. And I talk about it in the book that reflection really is on how I frame it is on multiple levels and for multiple purposes. So certainly I'd love to reflect on the wins, like what went well today, and to acknowledge myself for those little wins. There was a lot of things I saw on my journey of writing the book, and a lot of people would think that well, don't celebrate till it's all done, right? So part of that reflection is celebration. So I would celebrate in my mastermind. That's the one of the things everybody shares is what are your wins, and we want to celebrate with you, because like the gratitude conversation we had, when we pay attention to it, we acknowledge it, we're in gratitude for it. We are saying yes, thank you. I'm in appreciation, and I desire to continue to have more of this in my life. So the reflection time is for celebration. The reflection time is for like empowered insights. And what I mean by that is if something doesn't go well, which things aren't going to go well all the time, right? I've had plenty of my little trips and falls and things like that. But when I take the time, consciously take the time to reflect, I am approaching it from an empowered place of I desire to learn, I desire to grow. I'm not beating myself up or saying, oh, I screwed up or I did something wrong, but it's truly from reflection from a place of love and compassion and growth. So consciously, every day setting aside time to do that, I believe has helped keep me flowing through and helps people flow through instead of these really hard stuck points that we can sometimes get ourselves into. So that's just a bit about the power of reflection.
So then that leads to ritual, which to me is very fascinating because and let's really talk about the power of ritual and what rituals can do, and how do you set kind of a pattern of creating these special rituals.
Right. I love rituals. To me, when I just hear the word ritual, I think of the word rich. And when like there's this beauty, there's like a depth to it. And one of my teachers, Stacy McCarthy, she was one of the radiant leaders I interview in the book. She is a ritual master, and that's her whole life is set around rituals. And I love how she described it. Like we can have habits, and those are the things you do like out of routine, like brushing your teeth, taking your shower. You're not necessarily conscious in that moment. You're just going through the motions. But a ritual, it's truly all about mindful presence. So you're very aware at every moment of doing the ritual. I talk about in my book, my coffee ritual, and I go into great detail about how I engage all of my senses to really fully soak in this experience of my coffee in the morning, from the smell to the sound to of slurping the coffee, whatever, to the taste, all of it. So rituals add up. It's all about being mindful. So you really have to be fully present in every step of whatever that ritual is. So coffee is just one little thing, but there's rituals too. One of my favorite rituals is going to the beach and just sitting at the beach and being connected with nature, just feeling the air, feeling the salty air, feeling the sand, hearing the sounds, and just it's kind of a communion with nature. So we can create rituals around any activity, and the whole purpose is to help bring a deeper connection to life, to a deeper connection to ourselves. It's like kind of oneness and love and appreciation. So rituals can be put together from any aspect of your life. It's something that helps uplift you and brings a deeper connection to yourself and purpose to your life.
So for me, some of my rituals are breathing, taking time to take deep breaths. And, there's one exercise, I think his name is Robert Bradshaw. He teaches about the vagus nerve, and it's breathing in real deep and then out through your mouth with a hum, and what it does to really center your body. And then one of my other coaches got me started on something that I really enjoy, but it's to balance the left, right sides of you. I am blessed. I am blessed. Kind of that I am happy, and just going through a whole ritual of all the things that you are,
I love that.
So the balancing of, that so many of us feel from time to time very off balance, but with just saying those words, I am loved, I am loved,
right,
I am loving, these
love
things.
that.
So what, for me, it's creating the new habits of creating the ritual that, and sticking with it, not just,
right.
Well, I'm
right.
sure
And
that
sticking
works,
with
whatever.
it.
Yeah,
right.
Sticking with
right.
it is key.
Well, I love what you said about the affirmations. I go into really a lot of detail about this powerful story, and I won't tell the story now because I want people to read the story. But there was, I absolutely created a ritual for myself in my healing journey related to doing mirror work. And it was, I had never done mirror work before. And again, part of this routine for me was really reconnecting with my body, reconnecting with my inner self, and really feeling the self-love. When I created the mindful moment radiance ritual, which is something that I ended up turning into a product that I sell and everything. Wow. It was one of those things that fed me at a soul level every day. It gave me a boost of self-love. It helped ground and center me, and really set me up for a day where I was aligned with my authentic self. So rituals can be that powerful for people.
This is beautiful. This hour has gone so fast. We only have
gosh.
3 minutes
Okay.
left on this
All right.
hour. But what is mirror work?
Mirror work is where you stand in front of a mirror and you look yourself in the eye, and you, Louise Hay was very famous for this work. You say affirmations to yourself. So truly just looking in the mirror and greeting yourself and saying, hello, Becky, and then saying, I love you.
Love you.
And feeling that love, right? So there's something very intimate that happens. Like the eyes are the window to the soul. So when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you're connecting your eyes, with your eyes, you're truly connecting to your soul at that point. And it's a powerful, mirror work can be a powerful tool to help you re-script some of those old unconditioned beliefs that truly don't serve you to who you truly are.
Christine, I've been so honored to be able to walk alongside you on part of this journey. I know you being an author is not for the faint of heart. There's a lot of work that goes into it. And to have that connection with you and to have learned from you throughout this whole process has been really magnificent for me. And I love what you're bringing to the world. And for those that are listening, take an opportunity, listen, to pick up her book. It truly is an incredible book. But if you follow some of the exercises, you will only benefit from what you're going to read from this book, and follow those exercises, and reach out. Christine is all over all the social medias, and she has her website, christinehoward.com. There's a book, everything. Be sure and tap into and reach out to Christine if you think, wow, this is somebody that can really help me to get connected with myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Well, one last thing I want to add too is how I set this book up. It's linked to my app. So unlike a lot of books where you just read the book, I actually have extra bonus content at the end of each chapter. There's a code where the reader can then unlock content in my app, and I have videos. I have some hands-on work that will allow them to actually deepen into what they just learned.
Oh, beautiful. I will be doing that myself. So thank
Good.
you.
Awesome,
Thank
Becky.
you, Christine.
You're
All
welcome.
right. Well, I apologize. We're already over time, so we need to end our show. But